Good morning. How are you? We're just a few minutes away getting everybody logged in. I can't hear you.
Now I'm unmuted.
There we
Beautiful.
go.
Might I correctly guess that you would be Joe?
I am Joe.
uh,
Wonderful guest. And how are you?
just grateful every morning for waking up, basically.
Amen. It's life is a blessing.
Absolutely. It's
We
something that has provided me lots of substance and inner strength as I've started a meditation practice in earnest about 6 months ago. And I mean, even though I was doing mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn, mindfulness-based stress reduction training for since the pandemic, that getting with people live made a big difference because
sure does.
that aging with clarity can be done on Zoom too.
And it's I'm very fortunate for that because I'm in a lot of places. So I have a place in Playa del Carmen, Mexico that I had needed to be at this week. So that's where I am today. And then normally you will find me in Anderson, Indiana, at the heart of the flooding.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was really the record flood for a little town called Newcastle, Indiana. I don't know if you remember Steve Alford from basketball. Um,
No, not at all. I just
yeah,
remember Newcastle beer from the days when I was slammed them.
yeah, yeah. Well, the record rainfall in Newcastle was 10 and a half inches in 24 hours, set in 1905. And they got 18.9 inches this time.
Oh, wow.
So not only
Well,
was it the world record or the historical record, but it almost doubled it. And
a lot of suffering.
25% of Anderson, Indiana had to be evacuated.
Hmm.
You know, that's a lot of displacement for anyone.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it was a long week. You know, we started with Toddy up there in the corner sending me a brief little message that her hometown of Columbia, her country of Columbia, got hit by a 7.4 earthquake, magnitude earthquake, and all of the displacement that came from that. And then I went and walked the dog, Rupert, and saw this cloud that I had never seen before.
Hmm.
I took a picture of it. It looked like a flying saucer that had covered half the sky in 7 minutes, and
Wow.
then it opened, and it did not stop. It was. I told
Opened in
my
what sense? Opened in what? Could you
the
be more
rain.
specific? Oh, the
No,
rain.
no, the rain. It looked like a
Okay.
flying
Not the
saucer.
flying saucer.
I
Okay.
put that in the article. It looked like a flying saucer from a 1950s, Twilight Zone video. It was really kind of eerie. But anyhow, welcome to Aging with Clarity. Glad you're here. Good to see you, Doc. Mom, John. We have many people who watch this on the replay who don't make it live because of the time zone stuff. So if you hear me referring to people in another tense, I know 4 or 5 of them that have to watch it that don't get the opportunity to watch it here, and that is fine. And in the crazy week we had, I didn't even get to take the time to celebrate that we crossed 1,000 members in Aging with Clarity. So we're at 1,050. That is exciting. The community continues to grow. And this last week, partially because of my post, but it reminded me something we need to keep in mind with Aging with Clarity, and that's that Mother Teresa said nobody cares about a starving India, but they all care about a starving child. And indeed, I would not have worried as much about Colombia had I not known Toddy was there. And people probably wouldn't have worried about Anderson, Indiana as much as they did, based on all of the direct messages and the comments and everything else I got, other than the fact that they knew that my family, my daughters, everybody for the most part that I know and love was there. It's the old expression mom would have used is out of sight, out of mind. And it was very much in mind. And that's where I try to put us with aging with clarity. So we're going to talk about AI today and how it affects us with age on our side, as I like to put it. They tell me when I register for golf tournaments I'm a senior. I prefer to ignore that, but I will say age on our side is the way I look at it. And I try to use AI on a weekly basis. It's an important to me when you've got a new skill that you're working on is to use it as frequently as possible. But I didn't use it last week. And there's you may remember the name Tony Dungy from the football world. And Tony Dungy was a great coach. I don't care if you didn't like the Colts, everybody liked Tony, a great Christian guy. And he would get the Colts all the way to the playoffs, and then they would drop the ball, so to speak. They wouldn't win. And finally, Tony won the Super Bowl, and this author took it upon himself to write a book to try to figure out why. And hang with me, guys. This is important for aging with clarity. And what happened when they interviewed the players? They said, "What was the difference this year?" And they said, "Well, this year we played for Tony. Tony was a foster parent, great guy, just a wonderful human. His players loved him, but his son took his own life." And it really shocked the football community. It really shocked a lot of us in Indianapolis because we knew the guy as well as we did. And what happened is Tony would teach the players to do certain things at certain times. Think Wayne Gretzky, go to where the puck's going to be, not where it is kind of mentality. He taught them that kind of stuff. And the players would say that they would do that constantly until it was the big game. And then they would revert back to what got them to the NFL in the first place, what they'd done in high school, what they'd done in college, what made them all pro. They reverted back to their old way of functioning. And really, what happened after Tony's son took his life, they said, "We just played for Tony." And so they followed directions, won the Super Bowl. It was a beautiful thing. Barb and I were there. It was great. But it really reminds me of what happens with aging with clarity. We have a challenge because we've seen so many new things. If you step back and just look at your life, the things that we have seen that have changed. I told my grandson a couple of weeks ago I was older than Google, and you should have just seen the look in his face, right? I mean, we are all, well, maybe not Toddy, but the rest of us are older than Google. And people can't imagine living without the world of Google today. I will tell you the one of my synopsis of AI is that it's Google on steroids. Um, and we have to be able to differentiate between where we are now, what we've done in our past that has worked, and how we are able to adapt new things to be able to bring them in. And that's really what I want to talk about. I'm going to challenge you when we're done today to come up with a password that you have written nowhere. For goodness sakes, don't put it in the chat. Don't say it anywhere. Your wife should know it. Your kids should know it. And nobody else on the planet should know it. And it can't be a dog's name, a cat's name. It can't be anything that is easy to find out. So our code word for today is starfish. If you go in the chat room and say starfish or send Toddy a request for starfish, I'll give you the synopsis of today's talk and the checklist that we're going to get around to talking about AI as I break everything down, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But you need to have a code word. And so I'm using starfish today because it kind of explains a little bit about AI in the first place. Let's not forget there's 4 emotional drivers that drive every decision that we as humans make. They're quiet, but they really run the show, and they show up around AI in ways that you'll probably recognize. Remember, there's guilt and shame. Those are the 2 big enchiladas, and then driven by fear and greed. Now, don't get caught up in the words, just understand what they mean. So guilt. Here's what guilt in AI sounds like. Here's what you may be feeling. Mom said, waste not, want not. And here's this magical technology everybody's talking about. And I feel guilty that I'm not using it. You may have experienced that. You may have felt it. If you haven't, trust me, other people have. And then there's shame. Shame sounds like everyone around me is catching on so quickly and I just don't get it. What's wrong with me? Well, you got to fight that emotion because believe me, other people aren't getting it. I can tell you as a financial planner who manages more than $1 billion for other people, more money is being spent on AI right now than economically is being helped by AI yet. And that's because people are trying to figure out how to adapt to it and how to use it. It's not working quite as quickly. So then you get to greed and fear. Greed is the opportunistic one. It's not a bad thing. Don't take it that way. It's that I can't believe what these stocks prices are doing. AI must be real. What can it do for me? And that's where we accidentally cut corners. We don't want AI to enter our lives and do things for us that it shouldn't do. And I'm going to talk with you that through the bad and the ugly part of AI. But there are things that it should work. And greed or the or fear, and this is the one that causes hesitation, sometimes even a permanent delay. I got a fear of missing out on what this can do, and at the very same time, fear of telling it too much, both at once, so we freeze. And you can tell AI too much. We'll talk about that so you have a guideline of what to use. Now, remember, I am not a computer person, but I did this anyway. So if I can, you can. It's the whole heart of today. You're not too old and you're not too far behind if you really want to play a little bit of catch up. There is a parallel that I'm seeing happening with AI. And Doc, Latoya, you probably can recognize this in the academic world. I remember because of my age, John Checky would remember because of his age, when websites started to be created, right? And I paid for my first website. Our website is yourlifeafterwork.com for the financial side. It's not Financial Enhancement Group. And people today, like Toddy, look at me and go, "What were you thinking?" Well, I'll tell you what I was thinking. When websites came out, people can't spell financial and they can't spell enhancement. And if you didn't write it exactly, you went nowhere, right? So people couldn't mess up your life after work. So that's what the website was. Now, here we are today. And what happened back in 1998, 1999 is the people who understood the internet would get mad at people like me who would try to use it incorrectly. We tried to use it wrong as far as their opinion because they knew what it could do, what it should do. We did not. I did not. And now I'm seeing the same thing. There's a group I go to, and I listened to three people on the stage last year that are AI experts that are frustrated that people are using AI the way they want to use it instead of the way that the creators intended it for it to be used. What we want to do is use it the way we need it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I don't care what the creator intended of AI. What I care about is it makes our lives better and to do the things that we want to do. So, again, the key word for today, remember, is starfish. Enjoy it. Be ready to go. Here's the one idea I want you to hold for the next hour. And AI is not the newest, most interesting trick there is to learn. And learning is good for your mind, good for your independence. I get all that, good for staying you. But like any powerful tool, it rewards the person who understands it, protects the person who respects it. The whole time, this is about keeping our judgment in the driver's seat. I built the handout for you today. Like I said, you can get it. It's 10 things every one of us should know about AI. It runs in three parts: the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's exactly how we're going to walk through this hour. I'll call the number off as we go so you can kind of take notes. So let's start with the good. That's the fun part. I want to spend most of our time right here because that's the part that can actually change our life. Item one, the kind of research you study aging in the mind, people like Dr. Lichtenberg, Latoya, people, they point to something brand new as one of the best things you can do for your brain. And AI is simply the newest, most interesting thing to learn. I think of curiosity as a muscle, and this is a fine place to exercise it, right? Think about curiosity as a muscle. I hope the day that I die, I'm still curious. Here's something we find interesting. It's actually easier to learn a thing where you have no foundation at all than trying to learn something where you can compare and contrast to make it like something. Now that sounds odd because when I taught at Purdue and Doc's teaching, and we try to compare and contrast to fit into people's norms. But think about it, when you know the English language and you try to learn Spanish, you try to figure out how to learn Spanish via English because you have something you think you can compare it to. And trust me, it just doesn't work. There's really no comparison, no contrast with AI. So you're learning a brand new thing. It will be easier than you think, and there's no framework to really unlearn. Item two about why I love AI: it is a patient teacher that never gets tired of you. You can ask it to explain something in 10 different ways at any hour. Believe me, I've tried all 24 on the clock. It never sighs. It never rolls its eyes. It never makes you feel foolish. It'll explain a medical term, draft a tricky email, plan a trip, no embarrassment, and no shame, no guilt. It's a beautiful thing. I named mine, I use Claude. I named her Claudette because I thought Claude was rather impersonal. And honestly, I'd prefer to talk to a female. So her name is Claudette, and I talk to her quite often. Item three: AI is wonderful for things that used to require a younger person's help, right? When we tried to get technology to work, finally there was YouTube and you could get a video. Now you can ask this thing just about anything. But if you want to write a heartfelt letter to a grandchild, summarize a long document, remember the name of an actor you can't put a picture to or a place, it hands a little independence back to you, even though tech folks don't like me saying it. AI is Google on steroids. Item four: it can be a thinking partner. And if you've been in this group long, you know that's the number one thing that drives me. I believe we have to understand our decision making process. I believe we have to record our decision making process. And by doing that, we can create guardrails that protect us from our judgment slipping in the future. AI can be a thinking partner. Talk through a decision, ask it to argue the other side. Have it take your rambling thoughts and organize them. Used well, it will sharpen your thinking instead of replacing it. Now, I talk a lot about um, Legacy Lock and the toolkit and our Legacy Lock solution and helping people document decision-making processes. Those are all important. It is not going to shock me one bit in 5 to 8 years if we all have AI to help remind us of how we made decisions. What I don't want you doing is relying on AI to come up with your decisions. Right? I wrote an article a few weeks back. If you haven't gone through the post on the site, where I talked about guardrails, and I don't want somebody else's guardrail to judge decisions that I make in the future. Yeah, I like to scuba dive. I like to find sharks. If you ask my mother, that's a really bad idea today. If she's in charge of me in 80, there's no way in the world that she's going to let me do that. If I asked John Checky, on the other hand, John would say, absolutely, Joe, you can go scuba dive with sharks any day you want as long as your heart's still working and everything is good. And so I don't want anything else to be my guardrail but my own decision making process. So we're not going to use AI to cheat ourselves. We're going to use AI to think like us. And you tell it that. Thinking like I would think, is this a good idea or a bad idea? What would the negatives be? It's a great, great thinking partner. I help, I spend an inordinate amount of time helping people discover their own decision making process. It needs to be yours, not mine, and that's fine. But I'll argue this, and hear me on this: whatever age you are today, we can't redo yesterday. It doesn't work. We need to document how you make decisions as soon as possible. And that's really what aging with clarity is. So it's awareness of the subtle shift. Our Legacy Lock toolkit set the strategies to solve the problems that arise from the shift, and the Legacy Lock solution bundles it together for those who want to be able to use it. I have people ask me, okay, Joe, that's all great. I get AI, but what would I use it for? So I tried to come up with 3 examples for you. Here we go. What would I actually use it for? First, you get a letter in the mail. Maybe it's insurance. Maybe it's Medicare. Something from an attorney written in a language that nobody else speaks. You all know the kind, right? You can paste it into Claudette and say, you're going to tell it what to do. Explain this to me like I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and it will. That's independence handed right back to you. Tell me what's in this bloody policy that I need to know. What should concern me? And it will tell you without any embarrassment, any shame, any guilt. It'll tell you. It doesn't ever think you're dumb. And, I've been accused of rolling my eyes when people ask questions that make no sense. I don't believe I do, but, Barb would argue. Second, you want to write your granddaughter a real letter for her graduation, but the words won't come. Now, I disagree with this. I remember one of the things that happen as we age is we actually become about 5 to 12% more proficient in our vocabulary. All right. Nobody really knows for sure why. We're going to talk a little bit about causation and correlation in a few minutes. Nobody really knows why, but it happens. I've got my own belief why it happens. All I know is you start using words you haven't used for a long, long time, which makes you sound even wiser, even smarter. You're already more experienced, and now people really believe you know what the heck you're doing, when in reality, we probably still need a little bit of help. But you want to write this letter to your granddaughter. Let's say the words won't come. Just talk to it. Push the speaker button. Tell Claudette what your granddaughter means to you and ask her how to shape it. The heart is yours. It just helps you find the words. Third, you've got a decision you're chewing on. This one I use all of the time. I love to play devil's advocate, but I want to make sure that I'm still as good at it as I used to be. And remember, with the mirror problem, you can't see yourself shifting, right? And the example I always use is when you go to a reunion and everybody else looks older and you don't. That's because you see you in the mirror every day. You don't notice the changes in you. People you haven't seen for 10 years, they are some old looking dudes and dudettes, right? You can't see you having a subtle shift. And so I use it to be able to challenge my decisions, play the devil advocate, see if it would have found the same points that I would about why this is a good idea or a bad idea. Suddenly you've got a thinking partner. It's 2 in the afternoon. Nobody else is around. You can hash it out, or it can be 2 in the morning if you can't sleep. That's the good. Honestly, that's most of the story, but there's a lot more. Now let's be grown-ups. Let's get to the rest of it because most things have a downside to them as well. I'm going to give you a bonus part real quick. How do I even start? One of the public presentations that I do in the other firm is called a Thirdly, and the whole theme of this next one coming is foreign languages, and I don't mean Spanish and Italian. I mean LOL, FOMO, all of these other words that the kids use that if you're going to speak text, you've got to figure out how to use, right? They confuse us because the first time somebody put LOL at the end of a text, what in the world is that? Right? But our minds have to stop and process what it is. So when you think about AI, you read one article and remember it's written by the 10% of the population that actually understands what the heck they're doing. They start talking about coding. That scares us because we're thinking about Fortran 77, right? They're talking about coding, they're talking about artifacts, they're talking about projects, they're talking about all of these words. There's a few different vehicles out there for AI. They all have apparently different advantages. I'm kind of a loyalist. I stick with Claudette, right? Download Claude. She's free. She's amazing. You use Chat GPT. It's free. It's amazing. Gemini is Google's. Copilot if you're stuck in Microsoft. But I would not try to use all of these like researchers do. Pick one, get comfortable, understand it, type in your question, and let it even run. And let it do its thing. Starfish, again, is the code word for the checklist. The reason I use Starfish today is because that's how I see AI. It can go in about any direction you want it to go. You just have to tell it which direction to go in, right? You just have to tell it which direction to go in. And you do have to give it instructions. I mean, it will not drive to Indianapolis or California if you don't tell it where to go. You've got to say, hey, I want to go on 70 across Indianapolis, heading to the airport. Where can I possibly stop to eat? And then the answers you'll get will be absolutely amazing. This is simpler than you would guess to get started. And you open up one, it's an empty box, it says, how can I help? It's like texting a very smart friend. You don't have to use special words. You type the way you talk. It understands you better than better than your friends do sometimes. Help me understand my Medicaid letter. Help me understand my Medicare letter. Help me understand Medicare Part A, Part B. Write a thank you note to your neighbor. That's it. There's no button. You can't break this thing. And there is no dumb question. It will even say, Joe, I didn't understand that. And it's typically when I don't have my glasses on and I'm typing real quick and nobody could make out the mumbo jumbo that I typed into the text screen. It'll tell you, right? And you already know the only wrong move with this is you deciding you're too old to try, and you know how I feel about that. So we'll just leave it alone. All right, the bad. Just brief, matter of fact. Don't want to pound this in. I just want you to understand it's there. There's three quick limits. There's probably more, but these are the three that I would get to quickly. AI is confidently wrong sometimes. Now, let me say that again. It is confidently, like no hesitation. You get no waffling. It is confidently wrong sometimes. The technical term is a hallucination. And when you really understand how AI works, it is designed on an algorithm to give you an answer of the most probable next event. And so, where people really found these hallucinations the most were in law classes. We had two, and I know you guys are from all over the country, but we had two young attorneys in Indianapolis that were disbarred. So they were up against an attorney, think me, right? Some old guy that had seen it all. And these two kids whip out these briefs of a previous trial. And the judge is taken in. He's got the brief, he's got the dates, he's got the name of the defendants, the court's decision. And all of a sudden, the Matlock looking character says, wait a minute, Your Honor, those aren't real cases. And how he knew, I don't know. Maybe he just remembered. Maybe he'd done it long enough. But the bottom line is AI had created court cases, dates, the findings, the whole bit, right? It can be confidently wrong and it can hallucinate. So you always want to check and make sure that it's being accurate. If you're looking for very specific data, you want to make sure that the data that you're getting is correct. This is where using both Claude and Chat GPT may come in handy. You find it on Claude, you copy it, you put it in Chat GPT and say, is this correct? Most of you aren't going to go that far, nor should you, but it is there. It's occasionally wrong. So verify anything that really matters. And don't use it as your attorney or your financial advisor. You're thinking about strategies here, not specifics. Item 6, please remember this. It is not private. It is not private. Do not, under any circumstance, type in your social security number, your passwords, any account numbers, a family member's private medical details into one of these tools. Assume anything you enter could be and will be seen by other people. It is a conglomerate of information. It is like me. It is a great big sponge trying to learn as much as it can possibly learn in every way, every shape, and every form. And anything you type into it, it is going to try to keep. So I tell it everything about the aging with clarity. I tell it everything about legacy lock because I want everybody to be able to have access to what I'm thinking about with Legacy Lock, what we talk about with the subtle shift, but I don't type the financials of the company in. I may type something in to say if I was going to buy a new house, right? I'm thinking about buying a new house. What should I consider with a house in this neighborhood, in this city, in this location, da 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 da, and get the answers. I certainly wouldn't tell it where I lived, right? Not that it's not already out there on the internet, trust me, but I'm not going to make it any easier for them to find. Item 7, and I think this is really, really, really important. Even though I call her Claudette, that's just for me having fun, and she enjoys it. I get funny lines back from her. Um, it doesn't know you, even when it sounds like it does. It's a computer. The warmth sounds real, but it is manufactured. Enjoy the help. Just don't mistake it for a friend, a doctor, a financial advisor, an attorney. It's a tool. You've got to be the judgment in the room. It has to be you. So those are the three tips for the bad part. Latoya is right there, so I'm going to have her and Dr. Lichtenberg come in. So I will tell you, for those of you who don't know me well, I am not a negative Nelly. My feelings get very hurt on the Facebook ads when somebody challenges me and says that I have no right to say that seniors have cognitive decline. And then I have to go into my dissertation because I can't help but defend myself to go, I never said that. What I said was our knees age, our hair turns gray, and we all have the subtle shift that takes place because organs age, right? It's not, I'm not attacking anybody. You're not broken. And some people just don't get it. Um, I do not live in a world where I am worried about the next person that's going to rip me off. That is just not my nature. I do not like to talk about fraudulent schemes and scams and all of the other stuff. It's just not my nature. I very much like Andy Stanley, the pastor from Atlanta, Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, to be exact. One of his favorite quotations. I put it on my screen because I'm supposed to give him exactly what he said. But it was something like this: every mistake he's ever been involved in, regardless of the circumstance or the magnitude, had one common element: him. Now, that's not shame, right? That's ownership. And that's the whole spirit here. Aging with clarity isn't about taking your power away. It isn't handcuffs, it's guardrails, ones you build and design for yourself. So, we're going to talk about these scams, I guess, if you will, that people tend to pull out and get us into trouble with, and we get ourselves into trouble with. But I want you to understand at the end of the day, there's nothing that's going to happen to you that you were not involved in. So the ugly. And I want you to hear this as a person who knows the tricks, because once you see how it works, it will lose most of its power. I understand a lot about scamming. Latoya's getting ready to come on. She's going to tell you more about the scamming stuff. So I'm going to give you a point, Latoya, then you and Doc can chime in and go from there. Um, Scammers can now clone a voice from just a few seconds of audio. A short clip from a grandchild's social media, believe it or not, is enough to generate a panicked phone call in their exact voice, begging for bail money or an emergency wire. Hear me on this: the voice can be perfect, the emergency is fake. All right. So, Doc, Latoya, either of you can chime in and go with that, or you add to it, whatever you want.
Go ahead, Latoya.
So I haven't come across that scenario yet. It's just a very real scenario that can be used with the artificial intelligence that we have right now. I have not in my because I do work with older adults who have been victims of financial exploitation and scams. Um, the ones that I see, I'm not seeing a lot of the AI cloning voices. I have seen where people possibly use the technology to set up fake websites and get a lot of information on processes to make someone feel very comfortable thinking that they're a the last one that I saw making someone feel very comfortable thinking they're like a forex trader, right? And so they're using it to mimic their voice, finding out different details, setting up fake websites, and getting everything that they need to set up this fake persona. But I haven't, and maybe someone has had the voice clone happen to them and just didn't realize it. I haven't had a lot of experience with that one yet.
I will give you the last one, and this is one of many. This is the last one. A young man graduates from Annapolis, gets put on a submarine,
Hmm.
pretty high up in a submarine in an undisclosed part of the world, part of being on a nuclear sub, right? Nobody's allowed to know where they are. The grandmother posts on Facebook how proud she is of her son who graduates, that he's on the submarine. A voice calls. It sounds like him.
Hmm.
I'm in a country, Grandma, where I can't tell you where I am, but I need money now.
Hmm.
That was just the last one. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you haven't seen or experienced, but
No, I know
yeah,
they happen.
yeah,
I've heard about them. I'm just saying I haven't had any like one-on-one
yeah.
experience with them, but
So
I've
what?
heard a lot about them.
So
I'll
what
tell
would you
Joe,
say? Go ahead, Peter.
yeah, I'll just tell you that they've really made the government imposter scams a lot more
Hmm.
real. They're using
Hmm.
real names, real people. The stationery is much more real. So when they're communicating and then with their potential victims, it is looking a lot more real. There's none of that misspelling. There's none of that weird stuff.
None of it.
And the stationery looks perfect. And all that is AI generated.
So
Yeah.
so what Peter's referring to is in the past, if you read an email or one of those phishing things, there was clearly a bad use of English language that would give you a clue that it was somebody from an Eastern European country that had written it. The AI cleans it up now,
Yeah.
Uh,
right? So
And it's
it's
and it's from a person who actually exists,
yeah.
from
Pictures.
quote unquote, from a person who
Yeah. People using like, making pictures and like I've seen it used in a lot of ways to, facilitate these scams. But what I tell people is like my grandmother used to always say, seeing is believing. Like seeing isn't even believing anymore, right? You can't even believe some of what you see or, what you hear is just because AI has made a world where, people can fabricate almost anything right now. So it's been really interesting and seeing how this technology unfolds in the world of scams.
they can create fake emails that look like yours.
Hmm.
In the wire instructions, when we bought this place in Mexico, you wouldn't believe the amount of time we spent confirming every digit in the middle of it, a very, very long number, because they'll reverse a three into an eight or something. I mean, they just know. They know where you're going to slip.
and and
Yeah,
Because
and they know where you've been on the internet.
yeah.
they
And
do.
and if you're having any trouble with any company, they know that and they want to come help you fix it.
It's
So
almost like
it's
Well,
yeah, it's almost like they know what you're doing. I don't know because even like I bought my house in 21 and it was so they were doing the earnest the not the earnest but
mhm.
the down payment through a wire transfer
Mhm.
for closing, right? And I really know my agent, I really know my broker, like I know everyone really well. So when I got the text message, I think it was a text message or email telling me to wire the money somewhere else. I was like, this isn't right. And I do this kind of work, right? So I'm like, I've heard about these things. So I called my agent or I don't remember who I called. In turn got in touch with the title company and they were like, no, that's a fake, that's a scam. But I mean, this AI has just facilitated a world where they really know what's going on. And like Joe said, like don't type in like where you live or what you're doing. there's like ways where they even know if you don't tell AI directly. So it's really been just an interesting thing for me looking at kind of like how it unfolds and how.
So, let's go to your defense here, because this whole trick rests on manufactured urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they do this, they are going to try to get you to respond and react as quickly as possible. Every one of them every one of the scams, regardless of which one I've seen, works by making you afraid of missing out. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
buy gold now. You've got to sell dollars now. You've got to do this now, or I'm going to go to jail and stay there for the rest of my life if you don't send money in 15 minutes, right? Or we're going to issue a warrant for your arrest and we're going to come get you, right? It's based on a crushing sense of urgency. Clone voice, so-called police officer, crying grandchild, all of it's designed to get your money moving before you slow down. So slowing down, that is your superpower,
Mm-hmm.
right? The reason I help you guys try to create and record your decision-making process is so that when you're in one of these circumstances, you don't have to say, is this a cloned voice? You don't have to say, is somebody trying to rip me off? You don't have to say all of these other things that you don't want to naturally go to if you're like me. You just want to say, am I thinking about like this, like I would have thought about it in the past? Right? And go from there. One of my thinking processes, by the way, is to always ask your best friend. And here's the interesting thing about your best friend. You can ask your best friend without talking to your best friend, right? Those of you who have somebody close to you know exactly what I mean, right? Somebody, and they could be deceased, quite frankly. Somebody you've known for a long time, and you ask them how they would answer a question you're thinking, right? Because they do it with zero emotion. It's not their grandchild in the shark's mouth, right? It's not their future retirement that's about to be destroyed. And so they're answering the question without any emotion. Latoya, good luck tonight, honey. You do well. I got you, right?
It's tomorrow. I had the wrong damn I have. I'll let
Well,
you know tomorrow. It's tomorrow from 3 to 5.
prayers are still coming. You do well.
All right.
She's sitting for the defending her PhD for tomorrow. So it'll be great to have another doctor on the screen. Take care, dear. Thank you. Um, Latoya is also the one is in charge of our Save the Bacon call. One of the things that we created for the community. So the Save the Bacon call is designed because some people don't want to call their sons to say, should I really go get Walmart credit cards because the police department's coming to get me? And so the thought process is maybe they would call somebody they didn't know. So we created an anonymous number at Wayne State University, funded by our tax dollars, so to speak. So people can call this 800 number and go, hey, somebody has told me this. I'm worried it may be real. Can you just talk me through it? And they're going to talk to you like your best friend because they have no emotion in the game. They're going to say, no, you shouldn't do these credit cards. No, the sheriff's not coming to get you. None of that stuff. Oh, I hate talking about the negative, but that's the part you've got to be concerned with. Here's the part you got to always keep in mind. Your superpower is slowing down when somebody else tries to exert urgency, right? Part of my decision-making process is not to spend 10 hours to make a 10-minute decision. I refuse. I make decisions very, very quickly. But when somebody else tries to put urgency in my way, when somebody else tries to insert their timeline, that is a different program, right? Somebody is trying to mess with my emotions and they're just not going to get it done because I know the superpower is slowing down. So starfish, again, is the word you want to use to be able to get the checklist. I'll send you those 10 things. The first habit, starfish gets you the free handout. It's good. Your family safe word protects your grandson. Never let them be the same kind of word. Find a word that nobody would think of, nobody would know, that you can use, that you can tell, don't type, tell your kids so they know it's really their word, right? Something you're not going to forget, but something that nobody else can figure out. And if somebody calls and says, it's your grandson, it's your neighbor, it's your brother, it's your wife, we've had that happen. But yes, people will fake being spouses, right? Now, I've only seen that once. That's obnoxious. But they knew that the couple lived apart, right? And they tried it. It's kind of crazy the things people will do. But have that word that you can go back on and rely. Here's the second habit, one that usually, though not only always works, got to understand, they're really, really good at hijacking emails and phone numbers now. But if somebody calls, your first line of defense is to hang up and call back the number you already have. Right? So if you called my office today and wanted to pull money out of your account and we didn't call you, my team hangs up, not rudely, but calls back on a number that we know. They can't spoof that as well as they can other things. I would never say that that is a defense enough to rely on its own. We certainly do more kind of like that code word thing, a little bit more sophisticated than that, but there's protections that are there. Just be leery. Do not only hear this as a grandchild in jail call. Same trick wears other costumes. The bank fraud department, they need to verify your account. The voice sounds like your son asking to move money quietly. The caller already knows your address, your dog's name. Remember, all that's already on the internet. Every one of them has the same play. Familiar voice, trusted badge, plus fear, plus hurry. The defense is always the same. Slow it down. Hang up. Call back a number you trust. Costume changes, your move doesn't. And remember, your superpower is pause. It's pausing. Do not let that emotion drive you to doing something else. If one ever gets past you or close, right? Sometimes you can fix it, sometimes you can't. AARP's got a number that they want you to call. It's easy to get on the website. You can always call Latoya on the Save the Bacon side to see if there's something that she can help you with or direct you into some area. But here's your job for this week. Pick out your family safe word. Just one word, choose it, share it with real people. We'll go from there. So I've done this. We've got a word. We know what the word is. We're ready to go. You do the same, and we'll see how it works next week. So, Doc, have anything you want to add to this conversation?
Just that there's a second class of scams that are not built on short-term kind of reactions. The pig butchering scams are really built on relationship building, and then the requests come for investments and so forth and so on, usually unusual ones.
I call it the long-term hustle.
Yeah.
So we have a guy on his deathbed who looked at me and said, "Joe, you're the trustee. Please make sure you take care of my wife." The attorney set the trust up so that the beneficiary could remove the trustee. So another lady moved into the house with the wife, got a power of attorney, went to an office, removed me as trustee, made herself as trustee, and there's a $500,000 gone and not a darn thing that I could do, which is why the Legacy Lock solution has some things that are in there that cover that. So a power of attorney cannot go change things. Beneficiaries should never be able to change trustees arbitrarily. If there need to be reasons to be able to do it, not arbitrary reasons. Not that they wouldn't give me money when I wanted money. That is not the logic that you want to use. How trust documents are created and put together matters greatly. John, you've got a lot of experience in this. I don't see your face on the screen, but I'm sure you're there. Do you have anything you want to add today? We might have lost him already. Time's kind of flown by. Anybody have any questions or anything they want to add? You know, you guys are all so loyal, but you're all very quiet. I just have to say that, right? This is the quietest group I've ever been a part of in my life. But I certainly appreciate you being here, and I hope the questions helped. Do not forget to get the checklist. If it's not for you, share it with somebody else. They do matter, and I will. If everything goes as planned, I will see you next week in Indiana. Take care, everybody. Thanks.